Hello, everybody. Welcome. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you hear any beeps or like doorbells, it's because we may have some latecomers coming to the meeting. But just so that you're aware, also, if you have friends or anybody else who is interested in hearing this, we are recording the meeting. So we will be posting the recording to our website, probably available next week so that you can view it. If we are able to, we will post before we leave for the weekend. So we just wanted to provide a short workshop for you on how to apply for a permit to Torrance Unified School District. And before we get started, if my staff could maybe unmute themselves so that we could introduce ourselves. My name is Nancy Gutierrez. I'm the coordinator of parent community engagement for the Torrance Unified School District. And I work here. I'm located in the Family Welcome Enrollment Center, which is where all of our families who are either Torrance residents or who are applying for a permit enroll when they first come to Torrance Unified. Who would like to go next? Victoria, would you like to introduce yourself? We may not be able to hear some of my staff depending on their microphones if they're on their computers. So some of them we may not be able to hear. Alyssa, are you there?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi, my name is Alyssa. I'm an enrollment technician. I can't talk today. It's Friday. Sorry, but hi, I'm an enrollment technician here. So I'm sure I'll be emailing and talking to some of you soon, hopefully.
Any of the enrollment techs also have their microphones on to be able to share? No, they may be having issues with their microphones if they're on their computers at work. So thank you everybody for joining us. We'll be going on just to give you some information about what will be the process for you to apply for a permit in Torrance. So just to give you an idea, the types of permits are two different kinds, right? So if you live outside of Torrance boundaries and you want to come here from another school district, that is called an incoming permit. If you are a Torrance resident and you are applying to leave Torrance Unified and you live in Torrance Unified, you want to attend a different school district, that's an outgoing permit. So if we ever refer to that or if we ask you what type of permit, that's what we would be asking you from. So if you're applying from TUSD or from Hawthorne or Lawndale or Compton or Inglewood or Redondo Beach, any of those areas, that would be an incoming permit to attend Torrance Unified. So for incoming permits in Torrance Unified, interdistrict permits are required for all students, for anybody living outside of Torrance who wants to go to school here. So anyone who is living in any of those areas that are outside of Torrance that I mentioned, first, we need receipt of an approved release permit from your school district of residence. So even though you do have a release permit from your school district of residence, we want to point out that also doesn't guarantee that you have acceptance by Torrance Unified. So it's a two-step process. First, you have to get the release from your school district of residence, and then you apply to Torrance for a permit to attend our district. Just to keep in mind, you guys who are planning ahead for next school year, this may not necessarily apply, but if the timeline runs out and you still haven't been accepted in the end of summer, or if you were applying during the school year, you must keep your child enrolled at his or her current school district until you're accepted in another school district. We just don't want our students to miss out on their education while the process is going on. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. So the incoming permit process, as I mentioned, is a multi-step process. It's about two steps, not too hard, but you do have to remember that you need, step one is to get that release permit from the school district of residence. And then you can apply to your district of choice, which we hope that it would be Torrance Unified. And then we have steps 3 and 4, but those are mainly part of our district process. So once you get accepted from us, if you do, then you would enroll with us and you need to sign an attendance agreement and submit all of the enrollment documents. So once you receive an acceptance, make sure that you do complete our TUSD steps 3 and 4. Otherwise, you're not enrolled. Okay, so we want to make sure that we complete all of those steps. Okay. Also, just to give you some more details, for getting the release from your school district of residence, you need to apply with the school district that you reside in. Even if your child, if you work in Torrance or if you have other connections to Torrance, if you live in another district, you have to apply there. Even if your child's never gone there, if they've always been in private school, if they've gone to a charter school, you do have to apply for that release. Some districts have an online process, and they all do have different deadlines. So we advise you to contact your district of residence for details regarding that process. During COVID, you may want to check out their website. Try emailing them, because we know that there are some districts where the offices are not open to the public, as we are as well. So if your outgoing release application is denied, we do want to point out that you can appeal this decision by your school district of residence to the LA County Office of Education. We wrote LACO there, that's their abbreviation. So usually you have about 30 days to appeal from the denial date. So make sure that if your school district of residence denies your release, that you respond within 30 days and submit that appeal to the LA County Office of Education. Keep in mind that it's out of our hands. We cannot accept a permit application from anybody without a release from the home school district. So make sure that you're aware and that you plan ahead to make sure that you get that release before you apply to us. Okay. Alrighty, so that second step would be, when you come to us, is you're going to submit your documentation that's needed for our permit application. So what you need to submit is a release from the home school district, which you just got, your most recent report card if your child's been in school already. If your child has not been in school, there may be a checklist you need to fill out for incoming transitional kindergarten or for kindergarten students. We also need a final report card once you get final report cards from your school where the child has been attending, if they're in school. And we also need a completed TUSD application that's available on our website starting March 1st. Okay. Alyssa or any other of the enrollment techs, would you like to add anything here as to things that families may forget?
No, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with me. I think Melissa has something, so hold on just a second.
So we'll go into the next slide to let you know that if you do, once you do get accepted, you can enroll with us. So once you get an email from us telling us that you get accepted to Torrance Unified, don't leave this part out. Make sure that you remember to complete the enrollment process. So once you do get accepted, you're going to get an email from us that says you have been accepted, but you need to accept it also. So you need to sign that. So you'll print it out, sign it, and return it to us via email. And the full enrollment must be completed within the time requested in that acceptance letter. So it usually says about maybe 2 weeks or so. Or it may say a longer period of time, or as we get closer to the beginning of the school year, the time may be shorter. It might be 5 days, it might be just a few days. So please make sure you pay attention to that. Enrollment is being completed right now online with the Family Welcome Enrollment Center, which includes full immunizations, previous school records if you have them, birth certificate or passport, and your residence verification. I'm saying previous school records if you have them, meaning if the child's been in school. So if your child's been in school, we do need those. Enrollment must be completed prior to attending school. Alyssa, did you have something you guys wanted to add?
Yeah, so Melissa just wanted to make sure if a family has a sibling that's currently attending here, just make sure when you're going through the application, there is going to be a field where you can note that. Just make sure that you complete that so that we know to notify the school that it is a little brother or sister applying and that there's family already within the district. It doesn't guarantee it, but of course, it's something that the principal can take into consideration. So just make sure that you're careful when you're filling out the form and you indicate that so that we know.
Definitely. Yes, please let us know if there are siblings. We do our best to make sure that in the best interest of the family and the children that we try to keep them together as much as possible. So let's see. I think that's it. Oh, we skipped a spot. All right. So yes, the last step would be once you turn in all your enrollment documentation and you submit it with all of the forms that you needed to provide us, as well as your documents, including birth certificate, immunizations, and all of that, we will send you back a contract, and you will need to sign this contract indicating that you accept the permit that you're being approved of, that it will follow you as you go along. So it's a permanent placement. So when you agree to a school, you're agreeing to that elementary school, that middle school, and that high school. And you're also agreeing to abide by the permit guidelines in terms of academics, attendance, and behavior. So you're agreeing to make sure your child comes to school every day and on time, to keep their grades up, and to follow all behavior guidelines set by the district and the school. Okay. Now, just so that you have a timeline and that you're aware, we want to make sure you're aware that the applications start being accepted on March 1st, 2021. I'm checking the calendar. It looks like it's actually going to be, yes, a Monday. It fell on a Monday this year, so it will be March 1st. The earlier you turn in the application, the better. Applications submitted before July have priority over those that are submitted after July, because after that, space may become an issue even more so. Also, if the applications are incomplete and they don't have all the items that we ask for, we're not going to process them until all items are completed. Okay. All documents must be submitted right now via email to enrollment@tusd.org. Okay. Now, just so that you're aware, in the past, we would take these in person. So we wanted to make sure that you understood that right now, all of the applications are being submitted to our enrollment box that I just mentioned. And again, when you have those final report cards for students that are not applying for kindergarten or TK, you can resubmit them to the same enrollment email box, enrollment@tusd.org. If you can, we would ask, I'm sure our enrollment techs maybe were about to say this, but try to make sure that you use the same email when you correspond with us, because if you use multiple emails to correspond with you, we may not be able to connect them. And every time that you email us, make sure that you let us know the full name of your child, their birth date, and maybe what you were referring to, a permit application that's incoming, that you submitted when, so that we can keep track of all of your paperwork together. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Alyssa, or anyone else?
Nope, I think we're okay for now.
Okay. So for applying to grades 9 through 12 for high school, we just want to point out that it is a little bit different. So all applications for K through 8 go through us, through the enrollment box, as I mentioned. But if you're applying for high school, you will download the application from our website, same as the others, grades. However, you're going to submit directly to the high school. You can only pick one high school to apply to. And then if that high school denies you based on space, then they may forward your application to other high schools if they don't have space available. But you do have to pick only one high school to apply to. So that's much different than the other process that we mentioned. So if you are going to apply for grades 9 through 12, you will be submitting it to these emails in particular. So for example, if you're applying to North High School, the first one listed here, you would send your downloaded permit application to paularogers@tusd.org. Okay. All right, same process with all of the attachments and so forth. Now, what you need to apply for grades 9 through 12, just to give you a heads up, you may want to check on their website. Some may have a stricter deadline in terms of applying at certain times. They may ask you for certain things, but generally you need, same with us, a release permit from your district of residence, the incoming permit application, student's most recent report card, and we also ask for high school students that they submit middle school grades, behavior, and attendance. And for all students, as we'll be pointing out, if your student has special education or a 504 plan, it's really important that you submit the IEP or the 504 plan so that we can make sure that we provide the services needed and the schools you are applying to have those services to provide your child. So as I was touching on a little bit, there are some such special circumstances for some of our permits. If you are applying for TK, which is space in our transitional kindergarten programs, there's actually limited space across our district. We don't have TK at every single one of our elementary schools. And there's only one classroom at the schools that we do have. So the space is very limited. So you will need to apply to schools that have transitional kindergarten on their sites. If you apply to a school that does not have TK, we would move on to your second or third choice because you have to apply to a school that has it. And just to warn you that those spots are a little bit more limited. So it is a little bit harder because TK classrooms are limited. For special education, as I mentioned, it's really important that you submit that so that we can have our special ed department review them. We have to ensure that we have the appropriate programs and services for your needs of your child at the schools that you're requesting. So they have to go through that department before they can be accepted by the school site. Same with 504s, they have to be reviewed to ensure that we can provide those services at the school site. And as Melissa mentioned, thank you for pointing that out. It's very important that you list any siblings that are already attending Torrance Unified Schools. It doesn't guarantee acceptance, as we mentioned, but we do try to give some preference to siblings so that they can stay together. Each application is independent, but we do our best to try to keep students together. So please note that for high school permits, the site administrator might contact a parent or guardian to arrange an interview. So that's something to keep in mind. Each high school is different and they may handle that process a little bit differently. For grades K to 12, so all of the applications, you will be notified by email of the decision. So make sure that whichever email address that you're using, you put us in your contacts so our emails don't go into the junk or spam folder, and that you monitor your email on a regular basis. If the permit is granted, just a quick reminder, you will need to enroll through the Family Welcome Enrollment Center. And as we mentioned, siblings are not automatically accepted into the district, so you do have to apply for new younger siblings, even if their siblings are already here. Okay. Now, just to give you an idea on our permit guidelines, each of them are approved on a case-by-case basis. They're subject to availability and approval by each of the schools requested. So we don't place them, the schools let us know if they have space availability. Once permits are granted, as I mentioned, they're valid through high school graduation. So you don't have to reapply every year. You don't have to reapply at middle school or high school when you're entering high school. But you do accept it for the entire feeder pattern. So if you accept a school, let's say, I'll pick one that's nearby. If you accept Torrance Elementary, that means you're accepting Torrance Elementary, then Hall Middle School, then Torrance High School. So it goes all together. It's as if you moved into that school's area. However, keep in mind that permits are subject to annual review and approval by the school principal. So if your child is not meeting those guidelines of coming to school every day and on time, or behavior or grades are slipping, the permit might be revoked for those reasons. So keep that in mind. Torrance Unified's decision to accept any permits are based on first, space availability at the school requested, and students must maintain, as I mentioned, the attendance, effort, academic achievement, and behavior. Okay. Now, we do have some time because we left a lot of time for all of you to be able to ask some questions. I will see if Victoria has any questions in the chat box, or if you'd like, you can unmute yourself and we will take any questions that you have at this time.
Hi, I have a few questions, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
Hi. So, how far in advance do you need to get the release from the originating school district?
As soon as you can get it, the better. We start accepting permits on March 1st. So if you, the one that's coming to mind right now is LAUSD. I believe they opened their window on February 1st. So for people who are living within LAUSD boundaries, I would suggest you apply starting February. That gives you about a month before our application window opens to be able to get the release so that you can apply to us. But our application process stays open. As I said, as long as you apply before July, you will still get priority. So at any time you get the release before July, you can apply for a permit and still get priority. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Anybody else?
Yes, I have a
Hello.
question.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go next.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to ask, my son, he actually just turned 5 on December 15th. So going into the district, he'll be entering TK, is that correct?
It depends on what year he was born. So we go by birth dates. So what is your child's birthday?
December 15th, 2015.
December 15th, 2015. Yes, that looks like kindergarten.
Okay, so he'll be, I would be applying for kindergarten, not TK.
Yes. Not TK, yes. TK
And-
only applies for students whose birthdays are September 2nd to December 2nd.
Okay,
Just missed it.
okay. And another thing, your application is, I know it says applications are being accepted beginning March 1st, but do you have the application up already so that we can start filling it out so that we can submit by the 1st, or is it that it will be released on the 1st as well?
It will likely be released a few weeks before that so that you can prepare, but it's not up right now. We do have a few specialized programs we may be adding there to give you some information. So the permit application is being worked on right now so that you can fill it out, but it should be available at least a week before March 1st so that you can at least have a little bit of time to fill it out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I see. Oh, sir, you had a question right after her.
Yeah, two-part question. So when we have to redo the whole process again, even if we did it last year, right? So we have to get another release from our main district and reapply and all that, correct?
If you did not get accepted last year or you didn't accept what school we offered you, then yes, you do need to reapply. If your child was already attending Torrance and you did this last year, you don't need to do it again.
Oh, no. So yeah, we did not take it because of the whole COVID situation. So last year we were trying to put my son into TK, but because there wasn't a lot of programs open because of COVID, you know, yeah, so we just didn't accept. So we figured we'd reapply again this year.
Yes.
So we would have to redo that whole process over, correct?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. If you didn't accept it, then because of circumstances, understandably, yes, you will have to reapply. Mhm.
Okay, so my second question then would be, if that's the case, do we get priority because we didn't accept last year, or it's just that doesn't matter for this year?
Not necessarily. It's space availability. The principal might remember your name from last year. It's possible, but it's usually the first thing they consider is space availability.
Got it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I see a question from Natalia. She is saying, if her daughter does not get accepted to one school for TK, will they get accepted to another school due to capacity? Yes, so I don't know if all of you are aware, but if you've seen the old application, which is available on our website for this year. So if you want to, you can go to our website, TUSD.org, and click on enrollment. And then there's a permit page. If you click on there, you can download the current permit application to see what it looks like. So it's just for this year, just to give you an idea. Everybody gets a choice of 3 different schools you can apply for. And if the first one doesn't have space, then we will go on to the second one. If the second one doesn't have space, then we will go on to the third one. If the third one doesn't have space, then we provide the whole list to all of our elementary schools or all of the middle schools that are in the district to see if they have space. So that we may offer you a school that you didn't even apply to if the schools that you chose are full. You don't have to take it, like the gentleman mentioned, for his different reasons, he didn't accept it, but we may offer you a school that you did not apply to because of the schools you chose may be full. So we do try to offer you an alternative if the school that you applied for does not have capacity. Also, Carla is asking in the chat, if it's a work permit, what kind of proof does she need to show, like a pay stub maybe? So for Torrance Unified, we do not require any proof of any sort of type of permit for the district. You just need to check which schools you're interested in applying for, and we just need a release from your home school district. We do not require proof of working in Torrance or any other documentation of any kind. So that's not required at all. We just do regular permit applications for everybody. It doesn't mean we don't have any specific type of permits like work or childcare or those things. So you don't need to provide any of those proofs at all, Carla. You may need to provide those kind of proofs to your school district of residence to be released, but Torrance Unified does not require that. Now I have another question from Noemi. She's asking, where can she access the recording? Yes, we can. We will be posting the recording right below the Zoom link that was on our website page that sent you here to the Zoom today. If you would like us to mail you the link, if you could, in the chat box, please put in your name and your email into the chat box, and we can email you the link directly to the recording as well. Also, if you have an incoming kindergartner who you're applying for a permit, please go ahead and put your email in the email box, and we may send you information about any specialized programs that would be opening up for the next school year for permits. So if you could go ahead and put that in the chat box, that would be great so that we can follow up with you after the meeting. Now, we also have a comment from Alma about capacity. So if you would like to look in there, she answered some of the questions about that. Somebody asked which schools have TK programs available. I don't know if one of our enrollment technicians has that list handy to be able to tell everybody which schools has TK.
So we can tell you who has school or who has TK programs this school year, but we're not sure if there's going to be any changes. So typically it's around springtime, usually late springtime when they release that information. So the best thing that we can recommend is you can see on our website the current schools that have TK, but there isn't a guarantee they'll host it next year. So the best advice I can give with that is apply to schools that you want to apply to. Essentially, if they don't offer a TK program, we'll try and move it on to schools that are neighboring in that area. But it's kind of up in the air at this point. We just have to wait a little bit for our school sites to see who's going to host it next year. But just keep in mind that wherever you're applying, it is for the longevity of the permit through 12th grade. So again, it's on our website if you want to see the current schools that have TK programs, but we're not 100% sure who's going to be hosting them for the next year yet.
All right. Somebody asked about chances of getting accepted to TUSD. It's very subjective year to year. It depends on the grade level and which schools you're applying for, because you do get 3 choices, and then we do offer it other schools as well. I would say chances are pretty high for a lot of students because we do take quite a few students that are permit. However, we cannot guarantee a spot at any specific school because, as I mentioned, each school has different space availability, depends on your grade level as well. So it's very difficult to give you a percentage, but we do take quite a few permits all the way from TK all the way up to high school. It is a little bit tighter in TK, we do admit, because of those limited spots. All right, let's see what else we have here. Any other questions? How often are people released from their originating school district? It really depends on your school district of residence. There are some districts that release everybody. We tend to release a lot of people from Torrance Unified if they have a reason to want to go somewhere else. However, there are some districts that are much more strict about releasing students because they have a lot of programs that you might be looking for. So they may offer from other school districts, they may want you to just pick a different school within their district rather than leaving their district. So that's hard to answer. If you have specific questions about your school district of residence, you're welcome to email us at enrollment@tusd.org and we can try and give you a few pointers, but we can't say for sure depending on your district. Some, like I said, it ranges for each school district. Yes, thank you for those of you that have included your email addresses here so that we can go ahead and follow up with the recording and also kindergarten information. The one program that I do know that will be available in the fall is this school year, because of COVID and the pandemic going on, they expanded our home-based instruction program. And it will be continuing next school year. So they did indicate if anybody was interested in a permit, they could also apply for the home-based instruction program. So that's one of the things we can tell you. Alma also gives a great comment down here saying that it's the district's discretion. So as I was pointing out, we can't really speak for the other district, but know that she has a great reminder here that you can appeal the decision made by the school district of residence. If they deny you, you can make sure that within those 30 days, you can appeal the decision that the school district makes, and the County Office of Education does often overturn those decisions and release you from your school district. It's another question that popped up is what happens if you are released from your school district but not accepted into TUSD? You always have a right to go back to your school district of residence. Even if you get accepted by us, as somebody mentioned, you don't have to take it. You could turn it down for whatever reason. So you just have it's as if you got accepted to a charter school or a private school. If your circumstances change, you don't have to attend Torrance Unified. You always have a spot at your home district. Even if, let's say, you started with us in the fall and for whatever reason your job changes or childcare changes, you could go back to your home district of residence. That is always where you live and you always have a right to attend there. So it doesn't tie you to Torrance and remove you from there. So that's definitely something you always have. So I think those were all the questions I had in the chat. Is there anybody else who wanted to unmute themselves that had another question? No, I think we're good. Okay, Alyssa or any of the enrollment techs, do you guys have any other questions or comments you would like to add?
I don't think so. I think you were pretty thorough with it.
All right, so I did have one last question. Somebody's asking about before and after school programs. In normal times, before COVID, we did have 2 different programs that we don't run ourselves, but on our school sites, not every school site has them, but we had the YMCA and also the City of Torrance offering before and after school care. So some schools had one, some schools had both. So you are able to access information about the YMCA and their programs, which are still running through COVID. They're just modified. On our website, we have links to them, and you can also go directly to South Bay YMCA to find out about them. And the City of Torrance Parks and Rec, thank you, Elma, have also run their after-school programs on our campuses. City of Torrance is not running right now due to COVID on our campuses, but they are running at some parks. So you may be able to get more information for the following school year. And as we learn about it, we will be posting it on our website. Okay. All right, any other questions before we finish? All righty, we'll go ahead and stop the recording. And as I said, we'll be posting it, and we will follow up with an email to all of you with the link and letting you know that the recording is available. Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and we thank you for coming to our presentation today.